Greetings, Stars fans. This is game 26 of the Dallas Stars 2015-2016 season. They are going up against the Vancouver Canucks. As always, we start off with the last video. We give predictions at the very end, so always tune in to the very end to hear our predictions for the next game. Quinn, you said if Dallas was to come on top, it would be a score of 3-1. And you said also that if Vancouver was to come on top, you liked the score of 3-0. You thought it was going to be a little more of an open game, kind of. I, on the other hand, predicted a very close game between these two teams because I had Dallas coming on top with a score of 3-2, which I would say technically it was. But if Vancouver was to come on top, I had a score of 4-3. Man, this is the Two Brothers Mic'd Up show. Let's get right into it. The Canucks score within a minute of the opening period. This is Kari's first game back after he was on the IR. He had that head injury. What did you see from Kari and the beginning of the play from the beginning of the game?
I think it looked kind of like he was a little shaky, but you see that Vancouver automatically starts getting people in front of the net. They probably did their research and saw that he was going to be playing in the game. They know he's coming off the IR. So let's just take his vision away, try to pummel him with shots early. And it worked for him. They got the goal, was it Edler?
Yeah, it was Edler from the point.
And through traffic and just top shelved it.
Yeah, that was one thing that Vancouver wanted to make a point of in the last game, is that they tried to play Dallas very heads up. They tried to take the body on them. This game was no different because Vancouver was credited with 25 hits to Dallas's 14 hits. So it seems that a lot of teams think that you can kind of bully the Stars into making mistakes when you start trying to take the body on them. So whenever the theory around that is that if you take the body on them, they're not going to have the room to get their legs under them, to really use that speed and the skill that they have. But I think a lot of teams underestimate just how fast and how skilled this team is. It's actually quite impressive. But the very beginning of the game starts out pretty sloppy. I mean, I wrote down on my notes about the game, it's like the game did not start out very well. Granted, they went down early, but it was a lot of turnovers. It was a lot of poor decisions in their own zone. It really turned into one of those games that, you know, whoever played the cleanest, and the cleanest would be in quotation marks, would wind up coming away the winner. But to be honest with you, I don't think that was the case at all, because I thought Dallas played a terrible game. I think this was their worst looking win of the season.
Oh, yeah.
So
it looked like they were just straight panicked the entire first, second, and half of the third period.
Yeah, it didn't look all that great. From the way the Dave and Razor were talking about it, it didn't sound all that great. I mean, it was another close game against Vancouver. Dallas seems to have this way of going about their business that their mistakes really aren't costing them, because as we see, Dallas is the first team in the NHL to reach 20 wins. They are also one of two teams, the other team being Washington, that they have not lost two straight. So they always come back with a response to a loss, which is what makes up good teams. And it didn't hurt that we were playing Vancouver, because Dallas has won now 10 straight going into playing Vancouver. It doesn't matter where we're playing them. We seem to just be absolutely killing them wherever we are playing them. And we are undefeated with Tom Ghilardi in Vancouver after they spend that time at Ghilardi's house. But along with the sloppy play, we saw the lines get juggled. We saw Nichushkin and Sharp get switched. We saw a couple other line shuffles. I want to highlight, I think, what was our best player of the game would have to be Valeri Nichushkin. He had a coming out party in this game. He went and set a tone, especially with his goal. We have not seen... I mean, we started getting glimpses of Nichushkin in the past, 4 or 5 games that you could see that he's really starting to get in form. But this goal was true form. He just got on his workhorse and skated down, true Russian strength all the way through the neutral zone and going up against Hamuse. Hamuse stood no chance. He couldn't get the body on Nichushkin. He used his big frame, his strength, and puts one past Miller. I think I wrote down that has to be his prettiest goal of his career. Now, it
was definitely a beauty.
Yeah, we'd started the season just ragging on Nichushkin because we just didn't know what was wrong with him. But it seemed like Nichushkin reveled in the thought that he could play again with Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin. Once he got on that line, he did not look back. What were you seeing from Nichushkin from the first period whenever he got back up on that line?
Nothing but work. Like you said, he hopped on that workhorse, and he never got off for the entire game, which is a good sign to see for him. He still had his little mistakes, but overall, he's the best player of the game.
Oh, by far. And going with that, Vancouver's best player was by far Ryan Miller. I think Ryan Miller has been the best goalie in the series up against even though he hasn't come away with any wins, I still feel like he is the one that is having to work the hardest. Vancouver is not really averaging a lot of shots against Dallas, which kind of accredits to how the season series went. None of these games were pretty. They were all filled with mistakes and sloppiness. It goes back to what I was saying about this being the worst looking win of the Stars season so far. Now let's go into something about still there early in the game. Antoine gets a double minor penalty for
playing hockey.
Exactly. We were talking about this the whole game, and Roussel gets it's a reputation call. That's all that it is. But the one thing that I don't understand is that since he was in an altercation, even though he wasn't wanting to fight, I get that he would get called for roughing because usually the way something like that works is the other player gets called for roughing as well. But this time, Antoine Roussel did not want to fight. And then Dorsett drops his gloves and gets a full-on cheap shot on Antoine Roussel. I don't understand because we were talking about it through the whole game about how the reffing in this game was so suspect. A lot of calls that weren't, a lot of would-be calls weren't getting called. And
I think I counted at least 12 Vancouver Canuck players holding their sticks after draws, on the board, behind the play. Like, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, this game just it felt like a playoff game, to be honest with you. Like, the refs were just letting everything go, but this penalty was, so mind-boggling that it was one of those things that you're just like, really? Okay, I don't understand. I can understand one penalty out of that for Roussel, but to get him a double minor as well, you have to call some kind of suspect in with the refs on that one. I didn't agree with that. And with the game going the way it is, with how sloppy it was getting and everything like that, we see Jamie Oleksiak step up and, drop the gloves and do what he's been tasked to do this season. How about you talk about Oleksiak?
I really think Oleksiak's starting to come into the defenseman that Dallas thought he was going to be now. He's playing physical. He's dropping the gloves. He's become basically the fighter for our team when he comes into the lineup, which is very Darian Hatcher-like. Hatcher knew when to drop the gloves. He knew when to be physical, and that's the kind of play we're getting out of him. So, it's good to see Oleksiak finally starting to come into this. It's really good.
Yeah, I completely agree that, look, I was never the biggest Oleksiak fan. I've always been in the camp of I just have not seen anything from him. He's such a big guy. He's supposedly really strong. And for the first couple of seasons that he was up here, he played like a small defenseman. But now, I think he's finally starting to get it through his head that if he wants to be an NHLer, this is what has to be called upon him. I mean, he doesn't have to fight every single game, but it sure as hell, helps that he's doing this, because no one else is doing this. I mean, not even Roussel is dropping the gloves anymore.
And I think that's what's the most surprising part.
Exactly. I mean, Roussel has stayed relatively clean on the season. Roussel is trying to find a more balance to his game. Oleksiak, he just needs to go full-on Neanderthal with his game. He just needs to be that big, strong force that can clear out the crease and makes people worried to stand there in there. A big example would be Darian Hatcher. No one liked standing in the crease with Darian Hatcher, but a more modern take on that would be Zdeno Chara. Oleksiak is not Zdeno Chara, but he could emulate his style. No one likes standing with Zdeno Chara. Nobody.
No, nobody.
I mean, that guy is one of the strongest guys in the NHL, and he's proved it plenty of times.
Yeah.
With how he can
Especially standing what is he, 6'9", or something, 6'8", or something like that. That'd be strong.
And what I like about him, about what Boston does with Chara, is that sometimes they put him on the power play and they use him like a winger. Like, they tell him, go stand in front of the net and don't let anybody move you. You know what? If Oleksiak could mirror a tenth of what Zdeno Chara could do, this defense will finally have something that I feel like this defense has been missing for a long time.
Yep. True defensive demon. Exactly. I know Demers has his defensive side, Oduya has his defensive side, but I mean, Oduya more so is more defensive minded, but he still has his offensive skills that he looks like he's trying to bring out for the Stars, but he winds up in more of a defensive role for him. So it's good to see that we're finally emerging a true defenseman.
Yeah. Going on that, how did you like Nemeth and they're teamed up with Oleksiak? Did you? I know the past couple of games that Nemeth has been in has not been his best games at all. He's been kind of bad in that. But Yoki Paka gets the healthy scratch, as what has happened throughout the season is that Yoki Paka is the one that always takes it pretty short in the shorts, and he's usually the odd man out. But how'd you like Oleksiak and Nemeth teamed up together?
I liked it. I think, with the defensive situation that we have right now, I honestly feel that if they're going to bring Nemeth in, they should also bring Oleksiak in and vice versa, and give Jordy Ben and Yoki Paka the night off, because, Yoki Paka is still fresh. This is his, first full NHL season that he's playing in. So, of course, you want to give him rest. He's going to get those rookie mistakes. And, of course, Jordy Ben's going to be Jordy Ben. So he plays better after having that rest.
Right.
So I think it might be in Dallas's better judgment to start bringing in Oleksiak and Nemeth at the same time and start using that and just have Oleksiak and Nemeth paired up together.
They definitely did bring the strength to what this Dallas D-core lacks. So I think I was reading today that they draw into the lineup again. Yoki Paka stays scratched, so we're going to see another game of Nemeth and Oleksiak together. Hopefully, what we saw last night wasn't a fluke, because they weren't the worst D pair last night. They weren't.
Oh, no.
You know who the worst D pair was?
Our top defenseman.
Exactly. They constantly turned it over. They were losing position, just not making smart plays almost the whole night. We saw it with Klingberg, and we definitely saw it on Goligoski there in the third period, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But, okay, enough of the negative. Let's go back into some positives with Nichushkin again. Another heads-up play with him out there playing with Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin. No look between the legs pass. Real smart, savvy play to know that Tyler Seguin was there, and puts it in a spot where Tyler Seguin can, change. Because the way Tyler Seguin was skating for that puck, he was cutting towards the middle of the net, and Nichushkin passes it back to where Tyler still had enough time to adjust and cut back left to just absolutely roof it top shelf over Miller. It's a great goal by Tyler Seguin. It's a Tyler Seguin goal, but without Nichushkin's head-up play, we don't get a goal there. And again, Nichushkin showed that he's making a case that he should be playing on that top line. This is what he was drafted for.
Yep. He was drafted for that specific reason to play with Ben and Seguin. And he definitely showcased it last night. I think that's his first multi-point game, too.
Did he have a multi-point game whenever he scored his first goal of the season?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Well, I know it was just so nice to see him play so well, and against, when this was a game that we needed him to play well. Like, against this team, we needed him to play well, and he came and he put on his big boy pants, and he came to play today. But also, one thing that I want to point out, if we have any people listening or watching, if you don't go and watch post-game interviews, watch Nichushkin's interview after the Vancouver game. It's darn near adorable. It's pretty great. You know, he's really working on his English and everything like that, and it's amazing to watch. But let's go back into a lot of the sloppiness back, because a key play that I wrote down and that I wanted to highlight was Jason Spezza's. Although he's been on a great hot streak and has been quite superb over his past 5 games, he had one of the worst 2-on-1s I have ever seen. Not only did he not do anything with the puck, but he turns and does this curl move and then just turns it over, and it almost turns into a scoring chance going the other way. It was so badly played. And it's one of those things that Jason Spezza is in love with, that curl play. Anytime he gets the puck on the boards, that he's in tight with the defender, he curls off, man. It's almost getting to where a person could telegraph it and anticipate it. Hopefully, that was the last time that we see him play a 2-on-1 like that. It was pretty bad. Going in, and then just all through the third period, I feel as if Dallas just did not have good zone presence. They were making bad plays in their own zone. They were getting caught in their own zone a lot. Not doing little wimpy breakout passes. Just not smart, all around. And then it goes into Vancouver tying the game at 2-2 with Goligoski's just terrible pass out of the zone. Doesn't want to use the boards. Just elects to go, up the middle of the ice. Gets picked off to where it gets passed back from, was it Hendrickson back to...
to Jansen.
Yeah. I mean, that was a fantastic goal. That goal was pretty, because not a lot of people can spin, get it on the backhand, and still put air on it. That doesn't happen a lot. But it's highlighted by, with what Razor was saying, a bad pass, goes for miles. A bad pass can be caught and turned against you so fast, it's unreal.
And we've been seeing those bad passes happening a lot in the past couple games.
Exactly. And we saw one from Yoki Paka last game. Maybe that's why he got scratched. But a lot of those bad plays are coming from our top D pair. Something that needs to be fixed pretty fast, because I don't think Dallas can play that sloppy and expect teams to not really jump on them. I think we've just had the number of Vancouver. So it could just be that Vancouver's just not very good against Dallas, or Vancouver is playing above their skill level than it is right now. I mean, they're still a good team. They have a great goaltender. But the Stars cannot get by with making those careless mistakes the way they have been. Going into...
you keep making those mistakes, and you find yourself out of the playoff run real quick.
Yeah, you do. Going into the, I think, 6 minutes left in the game, we get Patrick Sharp scoring his prettiest goal, in my opinion, as a Dallas Star. I think you were saying his Detroit goal was prettier, but...
Yeah, a perfect pass, perfect shot, baby.
But this one was such a great individual effort, and with the heads-up play by Roussel by staying onside, we see a coach's challenge for the 100th time this season, in this early season with the Stars. But big, strong, fast, sharp, comes through the neutral zone, skates right through the slot. Boom. 5-hole. Doesn't make any kind of mistake about it. It's a fluid motion, too. That's the thing that I think messed up Miller on the shot, is that it was so fast that he got it from his backhand, the way he was cutting, and then cut right back to his forehand and shot it 5-hole. You know, I think it was Patrick Sharp's prettiest goal of his season with the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, I think a lot of people forget how, like, they all praise Sharp for his two-way play, but I think they praise him more for his more offensive two-way play. But this just shows, like, he can throw the body around, be physical, and fight his way to the front of the net when he needs to.
Yeah, it shows that he hasn't really lost a step. I mean, I know some people in the Dallas Stars fan base is that, you know, like, they might think he was getting a little old or anything like that, but he hasn't lost a step. So he keeps producing and really keeps. There hasn't been a game where I thought Patrick Sharp was the worst Dallas Stars player, and that's what we need out of him. But it goes to show that he's also as versatile as, say, maybe Cody Eakin. Patrick Sharp seems like a guy that he can just go and play on any wing, any line, and, you know, really produce or get something done for you. I mean, we saw him get juggled out of the top line and put on Eakin's line, and it turned out fantastic. I mean, he had that breakaway from Cody Eakin. You know, Patrick Sharp seems to be getting a lot of breakaways here recently too. So it just goes to show that he's still got a lot left in the tank, and that's what the Dallas Stars needed, and that's what they got whenever they picked him up in the offseason. But let's go into the ratings of the game. What did you rate this game?
I'd probably say a solid C, because they may have won the game, but they played like they deserved to lose.
Yeah, they did. I also wrote down a C. That's a very generous C, because, you know, it could have been a C minus, but with a lot of the individual efforts from Nichushkin and Sharp on their goals is what, you know, showed that this team doesn't need to rely on Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin for all the offense, and that we have players in our depth that can get it done as well. So a C is generous. There's no way they deserved a C plus. You know, Kari looked a little suspect at sometimes, but, you know, that was normal. He came off the IR. But let's go into predictions for the next game, in game 27 against the Edmonton Oilers. I think one of my favorite opponents because of all the early 90s playoff series that we've had against them.
Oh, yeah.
What are your predictions
between these two teams?
Exactly.
I honestly think, you know, this is going to be one of those games where Edmonton's going to come out and try to force their skill with their top six that they have of Nugent Hopkins, Eberle, Hall, not so much McDavid anymore, but Yakupov, and they may try to play the skill game with Dallas. And if they do that, I feel like Dallas is going to come on top because they have the more skill. So I'm going to say if Dallas wins 4-1, and if Edmonton wins, I think it's going to be 5-3.
Interesting. You think Edmonton has enough firepower to get 5 goals against Dallas?
Well, when you look at the statistics and they have like 5 first-round picks playing on their team right now, yeah, I do think they have the amount of ammunition to put it up.
Interesting.
I think whether their team play holds up, that's a whole different story.
Yeah, and goaltending.
Yeah.
Now, I think Dallas has been great on back-to-back games. This is the second game of the back-to-back. So, but I think Dallas takes a lot from the Vancouver game. I think they come out. I think they shouldn't be flat-footed. You know, they should have some pep in their step for this game as well. I like the score of 5-2 for Dallas. If Edmonton is going to come on top, it's because Dallas is flat-footed, and it's because they catch them with their pants down. Kind of like how Calgary did against Dallas. I don't see a third period rally from Edmonton, but I think a close game nonetheless. I like a score of 2-1 if Edmonton is to come on top. So there you have it. This has been the Two Brothers Mic'd Up show. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share anywhere you would like. Feedback is always greatly appreciated. Help turn this into something that you could show friends, family, any other kind of fans. Help us grow this into something great. Remember, this is a show about the Stars from fans, by fans, and as always, tune in next time.